Hello guys, today we're going to be hacking this model. This is the Koss PP257L, and you can look right here on the back, tell what particular model it is. There's several different versions on this radio. You have the yellow one, which is the most abundant, found on eBay, and you can pick them up practically next to nothing. Then you have the blue, which is the 257B. Then you have the 257P, which is the purple one, and then you have this one, the PP257L. So I found that this is the hardest one to find. It took me 3 to 6 months before it popped up on eBay. So if you see the green one, snag it as soon as you can. Followed by the purple. The purple is another hard one to get, but not quite as hard. So, if you guys are ready, go ahead and let's get ready to hack this thing. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is, what I've learned the hard way, is before we do a hack or anything, we have to make sure that the radio works. That way, if you know, you messed it up. So, alright, let's pop this in there. Alright, and turn it on. So, as you can see, tunes just fine. So what we're going to have to do, see, if you hold the button down and tune it, you can't hear any of the radio stations. As soon as you let it go, you do. Okay. So the radio works just fine. So what we're going to have to do is, when we go in here to hack it, we're going to have to make it to where you can hear the radio while it's scanning through all the stations. So, and this is where we're going to begin. First, we're going to remove the batteries. Alright, so just remove your batteries. Then we're going to remove the clip right here on the back. Sometimes it's a pain. Alright, so you've removed your clip and your batteries. And then you will see there are 2 screws right here. So we're going to have to remove them to get to the inside, to remove the case. Alright, so let's begin. It's essential in using the right screwdriver if you haven't done any of this before. So we'll go ahead and remove the screw there. Alright, so this one, like sometimes you get radios on eBay, somebody's already taken them apart. So this one's going to be a problem because they've done stripped the screw out. So, so sometimes you'll find that when you get radios, somebody's messed with them and stripped the screws out. So that's why it's essential to use the right size screwdriver so you don't strip them. So, alright, so 2 screws there, and then if you look down carefully, I'm trying to get it in there, you're going to have 2 screws in the battery compartment. I'm trying to... Alright, so now we're going to go to the battery compartment and remove the screws. They shouldn't be in there too tight unless somebody's messed with the radio before you bought it. if you bought it off of eBay or something, which most of these you will get because they're so old. So alright, so the screws are pretty small, so you will know these go in the battery compartment. The other two screws are pretty bigger, much bigger, if you can tell the size difference of the screws. So alright, so the next thing we're going to do is find the seams right here of the radio. Run your fingernail along there. So to remove the case. Now this is where you have to be careful. You don't want to pull too tight, because a lot of times there's wires underneath there, like you'll see here in a second. There's the battery wires, so you don't want to break any of those. So as you can see, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a battery wire right there and all that. So now we've got her split apart. Alright, now that we got her apart, let's just look what we got. We're gonna want to focus right in here. These are your ribbon wires, and we're gonna cut the mute wire. Now as you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but I'll put in a picture. There's no label, no writing or anything to tell you which one the mute wire is. So what we're gonna have to do is go ahead and remove, let me see here, this screw right here to pop the board out. But when we do that, we're going to want to be careful, because you have the headphone jack holding this in. So, and on the back of the board should be all the writing. So let's go ahead and proceed with that. Alright, so I went ahead and removed the screw that was right here, and it was this little screw right there with the brown thing on there. It's the same size as your battery one, so just put it off to the side there with the brown thing so you know where the screws go. Okay, so right up here at the top is your headphone thing, so you're just wanting to gently pop this out, and then the board will flip over and come off. So, and then as you can see in there, everything is labeled, so we can easily find the mute wire, so, and which one to cut. So I'll go ahead and insert a picture for this so you can look at it carefully, and then we'll go ahead and get the wire cut. So the area that you want to look at is this right up in here. As you can see, there is writing right in there, so that's what we're looking at here. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I have this under a magnifier, so what we're trying to figure out is which one of these is going to be the one we have to cut. So as you can tell, these wires are a complete mess, so trying to follow one is going to be a mess. So if you look on the board here, let me try to get it focused in there, you can count from the top. So you see mute, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 from the top, because there's your, this is really hard to do. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can't see it that way. There you go. As you can see, looking down, you can count down. You can count down how many there are. So as you can see, the buzz wire is the top. Just count down till you get to the mute wire, which is the 4th one down in here, and that. So you know it's going to be the 4th wire. And trying to figure out this mess back here, well, good luck. So what we're going to do, since we got 4 down, then we're going to go and flip it over. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be this brown wire right in here. So just to show you real quick again, counted down, 4 down to the mute. Okay, so that's how we got the 4. And then flip it over, and then you'll see yellow, orange, red, and brown. Brown is the 4th one. Brown is the 4th one. So we count yellow, orange, red, and brown. And brown is the 4th one, and that's going to be your mute wire. So that is going to be the wire that we have to cut. So I'll go ahead and knock that out now. Alright, just to recap before I go ahead and cut, there's our wires that we want. And we want this brown wire right there. That's the one we're going to have to cut. So we're going to go ahead and cut that now. Trying to keep this focus for you. Right there. Now, what I like to use for small wires like that, so let me show you, is a good old-fashioned fingernail clipper. Makes the cuts easier. I do have an X-Acto knife, but I find that it's much easier using this, especially when the wires are so small. Now, when you're cutting this, make sure you're not cutting anything other than the brown one. So I kind of pull it apart away from the other wires. And then make my cut. And there you have it. I made my cut. So I like to pull the wire out to show that we got a good clean cut. And that's basically it. That was our mute wire. So let's reassemble this thing and see if we cut the right wire. And don't worry, I will trim the rest of this wire up here real quick after I test it out. Alright, so before we reassemble the board, let's flip her on over. And we're going to test to make sure that was the right wire that we cut. So let's insert some batteries real quick. And be careful. This is going to be your on and off. So you're going to have to switch it over. Alright, look. And as you can tell, we still got power in the radio station. So we didn't mess anything up so far. So let's go ahead and plug an amplifier to it. Okay, so far so good. We got a radio signal, so let's go ahead and tune it. You can see a good sweep rate. It's pretty fast. We can hear all the stations now. So there you go. Alright, so what we got to do here is reassemble it. That won't be too hard here if you just remember how you took it apart. So we'll go ahead and start. We'll go ahead and start with the brown board here. You have to realign this up, making sure that you put the earphone jack in there. And then light it up with the screws. Alright. And let's get that one screw right here with the brown thing. So let's see here so y'all can see it. What I'm doing here. So go ahead and put our screw. Where it belongs. Right in there. Okay, go ahead and screw her in until you hear that popping. There's our wire right there, which I'll trim up in a second here. All I'm going to do is use the fingernail clippers. We want to trim it up so it doesn't make contact with the board again and then it stops scanning. So that was all I did on that. Slowly put the cover back on. Got a little tape there. Keep your battery wires clear. Make sure the wires aren't on any of the plastic here or you'll snap it. So let's go ahead and pop her in there like that. So let's go ahead with the big screws there. So 2 long screws go in there. There you go. So everything is lined up. The screws went right in. We're not going to over tighten it. Just makes it easier to get out if we have to get back in there for any kind of reason. If I didn't assemble it right. Because if you notice all these things here and all that, they work on a plastic switch, so you got to make sure they catch. So like right there, I didn't line that up properly. So we have to go back in there and fix that. So let me fix that real quick. Alright guys, so here's what I was talking about. You have to line these perfectly up with the switches on it here. So we got to make sure we do that right, that they're in the right position when you pop the case back on. So that's what we didn't do the first time. So let me line that right back up and put the case back together. Okay, so we fixed that problem. So now, as you can see, the radio works. All the switches work. And everything spins around. So we're good to go on that. So, alright, so now we have to continue assembling this. So let's remove the batteries from where we were testing it before. Alright, so as you see, we got to put the screws back in. Sometimes these are a pain since they're so small and they're a curved surface. So once you get it in there, go ahead and screw on down. One in there. There you go. Alright, so let's double check before we say this is complete. Make sure all the buttons work. Let's turn it on. Okay, the radio is on. Now I cannot find the reasons why you give me so much. So those button works. The bass works. And our on and off button works. As you can see, our tuning buttons work in either directions. So now we have ourselves alright. I know some people don't want to hold the button down, and then you can just add a switch to it. The reason I didn't add a switch for this is because this particular model radio is going to go to Norway, and there they have what's called the DAB system, which is a digital broadcasting system, and that so they don't use regular FM or AM or anything like that. So there's hardly any FM radio stations. There's a few on there. But the reason we don't put a switch on this one is Pen Team went ahead and went to a case once, and they used the yellow Koss on there. So as soon as they got there, they were holding the button down, tuning it, and all that, and then it went ahead and took over on its own. So it was scanning through all the stations on its own, and then it stopped on Happy Birthday song, and then it happened to be the client's birthday. So that was pretty cool. And then also with the same client and the same yellow Koss radio, it stopped on a particular song that nobody recognized. So we looked it up, and the song was like an old song from like the 20s, I want to say, or something like that. And the message of the song was about returning home. So I won't say much about the client, but the message was particular for her. It in fact, it was almost perfect, like the song was written for her. So and it was tuning all on its own and everything. So over in Norway, for these particular ones, I don't add the switches too much, which it's really easy to add a switch. The wires that we cut, and we just splice it up to a switch, and boom, there you go. But there you have it on how to hack your own particular radio. So I'll pop this in, and now you have yourself a working spirit box. Alright, thanks for watching. You got any questions, just leave them in the comments below, or anything like that. Thanks.